Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and we're going to do a Heel Heat Top 10. Actually, I'm lying to you. It's a clickbait title. We're actually going to do top 5s and you're going to see why here in a moment. The top 10 we're doing is the participants in the Owen Hart Cup coming up. And the reason we're going to do it as two top 5s is because we're going to do 5 people on the men's side, 5 people on the women's side. I didn't want to mix them in together and have it be number 7's a guy, number 3, 2, 1 are girls. So I kind of ranked them individually 1 to 5 on who I would most like to see in it and potentially win it. So with all that being said, all that caveat being laid out, let me jump right in. Number 5, El Phantasmo. He's a guy I'd like to see in it. Mostly, I love his work, obviously, or else he wouldn't be on the list at all. I like what he's doing a lot in New Japan. I think he's a little bit underrated. I do believe he is a Canadian wrestler, so it kind of gives a little bit of a tie to Owen Hart. And one of the main reasons why I'd also like to see him in is I'd like to see the cup be open to people not just inside of AEW, but some outsiders that are not necessarily AEW talent. Doesn't mean they have to win it, but I would like to see them in there, kind of solidifying the partnerships with the different companies, whether it be New Japan, whether it be Impact Wrestling, whether it be NWA, or there's another one that I'm going to mention later, so I don't want to give that away by saying their promotion, because it'll be obvious at what side of the ledger they fall on. But I'd really like to see LP come in and represent Bullet Club, and that's another thing. I'd like to see Bullet Club have some representation, because a lot of why AEW's AEW is on the backs of what Bullet Club has built. But with that being said, love to see LP in there. Now again, our number 5 on the women's side, Jamie Hayter. Much like LP, I think there's a lot of people that really like Jamie Hayter, and I'm one of those people. But she hasn't quite got that push or that spotlight on just herself. Most of her spotlight so far in AEW has been as being the second to Britt Baker, or Britt Baker's flunky, basically. And I'd like to see Jamie get her own shine on her. I think she's a fantastic wrestler. I love a lot of what she does. I think she's again, another international star to put into the group, another wrestler representing somewhere else that kind of gives us that international feel. I think she'd be awesome and a great addition, and I'd love to see her in it, and I'd love to see her win as well. Now, our number 4 from the men's side, Daniel Garcia. This, to me, kind of exemplifies what Owen Hart would be. Owen Hart was the upstart young wrestler early in his career that had a lot of technical prowess, also could move around really fast. I think Daniel Garcia fits in the Owen Hart mold a lot, so I think he'd be someone perfect for this tournament. Again, I don't want to put a lot of the top tier guys or even the mid tier guys in here, or women on that side as well. I'd like to see it more be where this tournament's used to elevate some talent. And I think Daniel Garcia, he's already well on his way to being one of the top people in AEW, but I think that being in this and potentially even winning it would be a huge addition to his budgeting career. Coming off of that, our number 4. And here's why I didn't mention the division or the competition before. From Stardom, Starlight Kid. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. I haven't watched a ton of Stardom, but what I have watched of Stardom, Starlight Kid is the one wrestler there that really stands out to me. And I think she's an amazing wrestler. I don't think she's very old at all. I think she's in her very early 20s. I could be wrong. Much like a lot of Japanese women's wrestlers, she started as a young teen, so she has a bunch of years already behind her. I love her style. I love what she can do in the ring, and I think she can really add, again, that international flavor to this, and that that openness of letting someone from Stardom come in and be in the tournament. Hopefully by the time that May comes around, we're at the point in the world where you could come to America and be here for a couple weeks and then go back, or vice versa, if we need to tape something in Japan, like they did with the women's tournament, I believe earlier this year or the end of last year, where they had a Japanese bracket and an American bracket. I'd love to see her included. I think she's an amazing talent, and I'd love to see representation on American TV of her. Now, our number 3. At the time of this recording, he only has one match under his belt, but he has an amazing hype behind him already, an amazing following, and that's Hook. From what we've seen from the one match with Hook, he looks like he's going to be a fantastic talent. He has a charisma to him. He has a magnetism that you can't really teach someone. You can't teach that. He's a kid that second generation wrestler, so inherently he's grown up with the business. He knows about the business. He's been under the tutelage of Cody Rhodes and QT Marshall, who seem to be putting out some really great wrestlers with the Nightmare Factory. I think he's going to be an awesome... I think, and I might be biased because I am a huge fan of his father's as well, but I think Hook has a tremendous upside in wrestling, and I know, again, small sample size, one match, but the intangibles are already there. If we could see him grow and continue to be on the route that he is already, I think the sky's the limit for Hook. I think he's obviously someone that can be, much like his father was, a world champion. Now, our number 3 on the women's side, someone that's actually not in AEW right now. Again, so far we've had 2 of them on the women's side, and that's Athena, a.k.a. Ember Moon. I don't know what she's going to go by. I haven't seen her announced to wrestle anywhere since her WWE release. But I think that Ember Moon, I'm going to call her that because that's what most everybody knows her by. I think that she'd be add some great star power. Also, again, kind of fits in the role of someone that the fans love but hasn't quite gotten that chance to break out. And for whatever she did in the WWE and NXT, fans really loved her. They got behind her, but for whatever reason, whether it be injuries or whatever it might be, she didn't quite get that push from the company. And I'd love to see this being a way as her being brought into AEW, because I do think if there's one criticism on AEW, I think their women's division isn't as strong as it could be. And I think someone like Ember Moon could really add to that. I think there's other people that they brought in that have added to that, but I think Ember would be another piece to that puzzle to make the division even stronger. Now, our number 2 on the men's side, Brian Pillman Jr. And I think this should be obvious for everybody why he's in there. The ties between his father and Owen Hart are there. His father trained in the Hart Dungeon. Him and Owen have wrestled. They were in factions together. They wrestled together. They wrestled against each other. I think it's a normal progression to have Brian Pillman Jr. in here. And also, I think, and nothing against the Varsity Blondes, because I do like him and Griff Garrison as a team, but I think there's more to Brian Pillman as a solo wrestler than being part of a tag team. And I think it's time for Brian to take that next step and become a solo star on his own. I'm not saying leave Griff Garrison behind. I don't think he's a bad wrestler at all. Griff can do other things as well. I have faith that Griff will do amazing things. But I think Brian Pillman, just because of his connections, he needs to be in this tournament. And hell, I would not even be mad if he won a tournament, because I think he does need that one little thing. We've seen the little feud he had with MJF. The fans were really ready to get behind him, and they didn't capitalize on it. So I think doing something like this can really add to that and really make him a bigger star in AEW and in all of wrestling together. Now, coming from that, our number 2 on the women's side, Ruby Soho. I just mentioned with Ember Moon how she could help build the women's division to a bigger spot. On the flip side, someone that's already there and doing that is Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho added some much-needed star power, some much-needed quality to her matches. I think Ruby could be someone that would definitely win this, especially if she's not the person that wins the TNT title. We don't want to get Ruby where she's so far down that she becomes an afterthought. So her winning something like this could really help keep her in the limelight, keep her in the top of the division, and keep her as a serious contender for either the TBS Women's Championship or the World Women's Championship, whichever she wants to go for. I really think that this is a spot where we could use it to help elevate her star, keep her as a top contender. And again, I like Ruby Soho as a wrestler. I like all these people as wrestlers, so they wouldn't be on this list. Now, before we get to our number one, if you've seen any of our top tens, we always do something that's called the best of the rest. Basically, people that were considered for the list but didn't quite make it. Since we have 5 on each side, I'm going to give you 1 from each side, 1 from the women's and 1 from the men's. On the women's side, I want to go with Anna Jay. I think Anna Jay, for how short she's been in the wrestling business, has again, much like I said with Hook, she has that star power, she has that but the ability to draw you in and make you care about her matches. I don't think she's quite had that spot where she's been able to press past and get to that next level quite yet. Hopefully having her go far in something like a tournament like this will help to do that and help make her an even bigger star than she already is. So I'd love to see her in this. On the men's side, another import, and that is Dragon Lee. With Ring of Honor being done and Dragon Lee being out there and being an available character or wrestler to bring in, I'd like to see him in here. The clash in styles, the high speed, his ability. I think, again, he's someone he could represent Mexico in the tournament, which gives us, again, that international flavor that I would like to see in the tournament, which I talked about earlier. So I think Dragon Lee would be an awesome addition to this. Now, coming off of that, before we do get into our number one, remember to please leave a like, share, comment, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, ding that bell. I would really love to get to 1,000 followers, and I would love to do that as soon as possible. So if you could subscribe, share this, I would definitely appreciate it. The more likes and comments we get, the more subscriptions, the more views we see, the more YouTube is gonna push the channel, and I can, again, I can make this a bigger thing for everyone. If you enjoy what I'm doing, the more they can get behind me, the bigger I can make this, and the bigger a community we can build with that. With that all being said, I appreciate everybody that's here already. With that all being said, let's get into our number ones. First, on the men's side, Lee Moriarty. Lee's a guy I really, really like, and I think he's got star potential. I think he's a guy that you could take him right now and put him in a trajectory where in 3 years, he's the ace of your company. And no one's going to bat an eye. Everyone's going to look at it and go, okay, he is the ace because he looks like a star. He wrestles like a star. I've heard some promos from him. He's a pretty good promo. If I were going to say there was a weak part of his game, the promo's a little bit on the not as great as the other parts, but he could grow into that. It's not that he's terrible. It's just that it's not, let's say he's an A-plus wrestler, he's an A-plus charisma, his promo's probably a B, if that makes sense to everybody. I'd love to see Lee get some shine here. I'd love to see them use a guy like him and make him a star by doing something like this, make him a bigger deal in their company just by being here and potentially winning everything. I'd love to see Lee Moriarty be the guy that wins the first Owen Hart Memorial Cup. He reminds me a lot of Owen Hart in the way he works and the way he carries himself, so I'd love to see it. Now, going from that, our number one on the women's side, Serena Deeb. This, to me, is a way to show, again, an extremely good, talented wrestler, the woman of 1,004 holds, as she calls herself. I think Serena Deeb kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but behind your Garcias, behind your Britt Bakers, behind everybody in the division, behind Ruby Soho. I think she kind of gets a little bit lost in the shuffle, and we don't really think of how awesome she really is. But she is one of the top women's wrestlers in the world, one of the top wrestlers in the world, period. She's got the talent, the charisma, she's got the story that everybody gets behind. Most people have watched her for the last 15 years grow and become what she is. I'd love to see Serena Deeb be the one that's in there and win the whole competition for the women's side. I think she's a fantastic representation. And also, I think I'd like to see a face win with the face side of Owen Hart and a heel win to show us the heel side of Owen Hart. And I think Serena Deeb is the one to win for the heel side. But that's my list. That's my 2 top 5s. Put them together, you get a top 10. That's my 2 top 5s. Let me know what you think. Who else would you like to see in there? Who would you like to see win? Who would you like to see make their debut in the tournament? I know it's about a half a year off, but hey, it's never too early to start speculation. I've been very wrong before with my speculations, and I'm willing to go on record being wrong again. But let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments if you like who I put on here, if you think I left somebody off. Let me know. With all that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been another Heel Heat Top 10.